What is up, world? It's your boy Ton, and you are listening to the Wonton Wealth Podcast. Here, I'm going to unravel anything and everything commercial real estate related. And more importantly, we're going to add abundant value. So if you're ready, buckle up your eardrums. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Wonton Wealth. Today, I have an absolute titan for you. He has built up an incredible portfolio over the past decade or so. I'm not going to give an intro on him, but I will say he is the co-founder of Ashcroft Capital, and he is the founder of the Best Ever brand. A great friend of mine, a subtle mentor, and just an all-around great person. Today is the first part of a two-part series of our conversation, so tune in again next week to get the second part of it, which is probably even better than the first. So without further ado, here's the conversation.
Is this Ton with Wonton Wealth?
There is
What's up, man?
Joe motherfucking Fairless. How we doing, brother?
Hey, good. Yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
I love it, brother. Essentially, for everybody listening, it's going to be a little bit untraditional. I mean, if everybody wants to learn who Joe Fairless is, go out, fucking search Google. There's tens and thousands of pages of Joe Fairless. You can listen to your podcast and all that and interviews to learn about the backstory. So I think I'm just going to shoot from the hip and just start firing at you if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sitting is the new smoking, so I'm going to stand and enjoy. Sweet.
All right, so my first question for you, I want to rewind back to your New York days. Hopefully that doesn't bring up any terrible memories, but I want to bring that up because what I've learned is that you were the youngest VP at probably one of the largest marketing, advertising firms, whatever. I'm not sure how long you were there, but obviously you're in real estate now, so you transitioned eventually. So my question is, what was the exact moment that you knew you had to make a leap, and how did you handle the fear of essentially starting over in a whole new field?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll fact check one thing. I was one of the youngest VPs of the ad agency in New York City, but the ad agency wasn't one of the biggest ones. It was an agency called SS&K, and they were. Yeah, it was a smaller agency. There were probably, I don't know, like 60 people or something there working there. My guess, somewhere around there. But I had the position that I wanted, that I was working. My major was advertising in college, and I wanted to compete with the best of the best. So that's why I went to New York City. That's the only reason I went to New York City. I didn't know anyone when I moved to New York City. I just moved strictly for the career. My goal was to live there for 5 years and then go back to Dallas, Fort Worth, and jump ahead of everyone else who went directly to Dallas, Fort Worth after college in my career, because then I'd have the New York City experience. But I ended up being there 10 years. And towards the end, it was I think it was Hurricane Sandy that came through New York in October of 2012. And what Hurricane Sandy did is it, among many things, for my company, what it did is it knocked out the power of the building. The building that we were in was on Wall Street, and that building, the basement flooded, and all the stuff for the power is in the basement apparently. And so we were working remote, and I remember working at a sandwich shop with my buddy GCP, who was working at another agency, and he was able to work at home at the time. And I remember looking out as people are walking by, thinking, what is it that they do that they're able to walk around freely at 11 a.m.? Why aren't they in the office? It was just so foreign to me. How are they able to support themselves and be able to pull that off? And I realized I needed to change. I needed a change. I wasn't fulfilled by what I was doing anymore. So you asked, what was it like transitioning the change from advertising to going to real estate. I look at it as from the perspective of I was compelled to do something. I run my race in advertising, and I felt like I had made it to as high as I wanted to go in advertising, and that was all I wanted to do. So it was a compelling feeling that I had versus kind of having trepidation, and it was ignorance too. I mean, quite frankly, it was freaking ignorance. I had 4 single family homes at the time. I had one of the homes I refinanced, and that's what got me about $50,000 in my bank account from the refinance. So I had $50,000 in my bank account, and I had 4 homes that were, making like $200 a month until someone moved out, and then it'd be $1,000 I had to pay, $2,000, $3,000 I had to pay. So the homes were really a neutral thing. So, but it really is $50K. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give myself I'm gonna give myself a chance. I've got $50,000, and I'm gonna see if I can do this thing. And one thing that was eaten into that $50K quickly was Cobra. So I ended up getting laid off. It was beautiful, and people say, hey, it was a mutual thing, and it really wasn't. This wasn't a mutual thing, but I wanted it to happen. So December of 2012, I got called into the HR office, and the agency had just lost a couple big clients. And when you lose clients, big clients in advertising agencies, you got to lay the teams off. So they said, you're going to be laid off. You'll have 2 months we'll pay you through, I think, the end of January. And I thought, man, this is awesome, because I'd planned on quitting in early January, and I wouldn't have had any money, no buyout, obviously, because I would have quit. So I ended up getting money, but I also had to pay into Cobra, and Cobra was like $800 a month, something like that, maybe $900 for a healthy guy. I mean, I didn't have anything going on, and so between Cobra and then also rent was about $1,000. So that's $2,000 a month right there, just in rent and insurance. And looking back, I probably wouldn't have done Cobra. If I do it over again, I would have just rolled the dice on that thing. But it was tough, and it was challenging, and but I didn't feel like I had another option, because I just felt compelled to do it.
Gotcha. So it sounds like, you already, what you mentioned is that you reached the top, and it was kind of getting almost like boring, if you will, right? And throughout our interactions, I feel like you have like an insatiable thirst for games that involved strategy and trying to over strategize your opponent, like chess, Connect Four, what was the other, poker, right?
Yeah.
So you say,
I never thought about it that way, but you're spot on.
Would you say that your drive for the love of the strategy and those type of things kind of push you forward to leaving that position as well?
I would say yes. I think having that thought process certainly was a contributing factor. I'd also say that I was thriving in advertising until that last company. Like I was going up, and up. And then I realized once I got that last company, and I was only at 3 companies, one for 9 months, another for, 6, 7 years, 8 years, and then another for about 9 months, that last one. And I realized that, man, I just don't, apathy. I just don't care about what I'm doing. And so, I mean, that was the true driving force, that and the epiphany of just seeing those people. I remember going outside doing, just walking around during the middle of the day. I remember going to client meetings in a cab, because that's really the only time I took cabs because it was expense. Otherwise, I walked or took the subway. I remember going to client meetings in New York, just in the client meeting, just driving down. It was a client meeting at J.P. Morgan Chase, and just going to their office in Midtown, and just seeing these people outside. And I was like, how are you experiencing today the way you're experiencing it? I'm freaking going to this meeting and about to talk about stuff that I don't care about at all. And like retirement plans for donor advised funds and some other stuff. Like, I didn't care about any of that. Like, how are they able to pull that off? And that was really that was really the true motivation and the pull that got me there.
So I guess with your background in the marketing advertising piece, what would you say is the most beneficial for you in as you transition into the real estate side?
I would say looking at things from everybody's perspective. In advertising, if you look at things from your audience's perspective, then you will know how to speak to them. In real estate, if you look at things from your audience perspective, whether it's a tenant, whether it's an investor, whether it's a vendor, whether it's your business partner, you're going to have very productive conversations with them because you're seeing it through their eyes. A really good book, Crucial Conversations, talks about when the stakes are high and opinions vary, establish a mutual purpose.
Gotcha.
Once you establish that mutual purpose, then you can build up from there. And then it just shows a goodwill. It shows that you two are on the same page. Always start with the mutual purpose. And so thinking about it that way from my advertising background, but also applying it to what we do now has been beneficial.
So to piggyback on your, the partnerships, and maybe this is something you've already answered, but I wanted to see if there's anything additional to that. With partnerships, it's kind of like a marriage, right? Some people are against it. They want to do shit themselves, buy everything 100%, no partners involved, so that they're the sole decision maker. Mm-hmm. So for people, I guess I kind of have a two-pronged question. For people that are against partnerships, what would you say to that person? And I guess the second part would be, what are the top characteristics or character traits that you see in making the perfect partner?
Mm-hmm. Well, for the person who doesn't believe in partnerships or doesn't want them, maybe you shouldn't do them. It all depends on the individual. I mean, it's unrealistic to say anyone is going to create a business and not have partners, whether it's someone who maybe they don't own any percentage of the company, but if you think about it, your clients are partners, your customers are partners, your vendors are partners. Like, it depends on, how you're defining that. But if we're talking just the black and white, divvying up the ownership of the business, because I think that's what you're talking about, maybe you shouldn't have a partner. Maybe you should be the head lady or the head guy. I mean, that if that works for you, that works for you, and then you hire people underneath you. For me personally, I am inadequate on my own to run a business. I found that out. That's just how I am. I am good at certain things. I am not good at other things. And it's taken me a couple ventures to realize that. But once I realize it, I've embraced it. Like, okay, if I want something to take off and do well, I need people who can complement the areas that I am not good at or I'm average at. So what do I look for in a partner? Well, it's a very it's a very specific question to what I need. So I'll answer it more broadly, and then if you want, I can talk specifics about me personally. More broadly, if someone's looking at, all right, what do I need in a partner? Well, it's very simple. You do three things. One, you identify what skills are required to be successful in this business. What are all the skills? List them out. List all the skills out. What are all the skills successful in this business? That's number one. Number two, you identify which of those skills do you have. And then number three, you go find someone who has those other skills. That's the three-step process to finding the right partner. Certainly, there's compatibility with personalities and integrity alignment and geography, maybe not, depending on how you want to roll. So that's how I would look at it from anyone's perspective. From mine specifically, I have a certain skill sets. There's in relationships. I love learning from people. I love learning about people. I love hearing their stories. I love hearing their journey of how they've overcome obstacles. I find that stuff inspiring. I love asking them about what they got going on, the challenges they're working on. everyone's got challenges. Everyone's working on stuff that, they're in their own head to some capacity. So I love hearing about what they've got going on. But those skills are not the only skills that are needed to have a successful real estate business. Asset management, technical expertise in asset management, acquisitions, finding the right deals, underwriting. I did not have that background. I do not have that background. Therefore, I need to have a partner who had that background. And so that's why I ended up meeting my partner about 10 years ago. What are we, 2025? Yeah, 10 years ago, met my partner and ended up doing good things with Ashcroft Capital.
So it sounds like you are a proponent of the saying, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together.
For me personally, yeah. Some people, it might not work that way, but for me personally, that's what I've experienced.
Now, I know you're super big on mentorships and coaches and whatnot. I'm sure, I don't know if you still have a coach. I know in the past you've had a coach. You yourself are a coach, and I'm sure there's a ton of non-believers out there as well in terms of, I'm not going to pay X amount of dollar to have somebody tell me what to do. So I guess my question is, who has been the most impactful mentor in your life? And what's the best piece of advice that they've given you?
I would say most impactful mentor. It's tough.
And
It's tough to narrow it down to one person.
you can't say me because that's cheating.
Dang it. All right, I'll go to option B. I would say Trevor McGregor, because he reinforced the Tony Robbins thought process that I was studying and I began to be a student on whenever I was introduced to him. And he was with me through challenging times starting the business and helped me navigate things. So I'd say Trevor McGregor, and a lot of you might be familiar with him. He's coached a lot of people since then.
And so when he reinvigorated like the Tony Robbins into you, do you have like a favorite Tony Robbins quote that you kind of live by or just share with everybody?
I mean, right now I've got on my vision board, which is 3 feet by 4 feet on my wall, printed on my wall. It's also on my computer. It's also on my screen of my phone. It says live to give. Tony Robbins said the secret to living is giving. So I'd say ultimately that secret to living is giving, or give to live to give to live. It's just like a full circle thing, because challenges are a part of life. Scott Peck in the book The Road Less Traveled, one of my favorite books, that's the first sentence. Life is difficult is his first sentence. And once we realize that life is difficult, then we can transcend the thought process of, oh man, this thing happened to, yeah, that's supposed to happen. That's expected. Maybe not, I didn't expect it in this way, but a problem was expected. And then, be able to navigate it differently when we expect challenges and understand that that's part of life, versus if we don't expect the problems to happen, or we don't expect problems to happen. There's just so many issues with that. Yeah, part of our daily routine, every night at dinner, my family, we go around and we say, what's our high C? What's our highlight and what's our challenge? And I have a 6-year-old daughter and then my wife. And one thing that I want to reinforce in my daughter is that life is supposed to be challenging. That's it. Like that life's supposed, it's supposed to happen. You fell down, you skinned your knee. Life's supposed to be challenging. And I will admit that one area that I can improve on is scaling the hard nose back a little bit with that, and probably, having warm fuzzies because of my thought process of, that's supposed to be challenging. So I need to do a better job of balancing that thought process a bit, especially with the 6-year-old daughter. But overall, what's necessary for all of us, in my opinion, to understand is that life is difficult and it's supposed to be that way. And I just saw a post the other day. I think it was yesterday. I took a screenshot of it. Very rarely do I do screenshots for LinkedIn posts, because it's starting to be a bunch of noise, just like Facebook was, which is why I don't do that. But I did see something. It was interesting. It said, I read a book that said marriage is hard, divorce is hard, choose your hard. Obesity is hard, being fit is hard, choose your hard. Being in debt is hard, being financially disciplined is hard, choose your hard. Starting a business is hard, working a 9-to-5 job is hard, choose your hard. Life will never be easy, but you can choose your hard, choose wisely. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so that's the type of thought process that I love, because it's so applicable to everyday life.
And that's a wrap. If you've made it this far, that means you've listened to the entire episode, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And if you've learned something or found it useful, share it with one of your homies. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty active on IG. My handle is pro_TANH. Reach out, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, or what you want to hear about in the future. I'm here to tailor this to you. Until next time.